Lease options. What the hell is it, or how should you structure it? Well, Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this video, we're going to talk about what you should do for your real estate lease options and structuring. All right, let's get started. Okay, so lease options. If you're not familiar with the strategy, it goes something like this. You have a property and you bring in a tenant, and you want to give the tenant some incentive to maintain the property, get a sense of ownership there because they'll stick around longer and make a little money off this deal. So you have this tenant come in and you tell them, I'll tell you what, I'm going to lease you the property for 2 years, all right, for a 2-year time period. And if you lease it from me for 2 years, at the expiration of that 2-year period, you like the house, I'll sell it to you. And so then you come up with a sales price. And let's say we agreed to sell it at $150,000 at that point in time. That's going to be the sale price for the property. Now the tenant, in order to get this transaction together and get the benefit of this, they're going to give you some option money, it's called. That's where that option comes in. So this is the lease, and then the option money is money you receive in exchange for agreeing to sell them the property in 2 years at $150K. So let's say the tenant provides me $10,000 option money. Now, first off, the great thing I like about lease options that I really like is that this money you receive, this option money, it ain't taxable, right? That money is tax-free to you for a while. So you bring in $10K on your lease option, you don't have to pay tax on that money until a couple things happen. A, they exercise, and then when they exercise it, it gets added into your sales price, so that's long-term capital gains for you, or they default on the lease option agreement. And so when something happens with that option, that is when you have to pay tax on that money. So if the tenant carries it all the way out to the 2-year period, exercises it, then you'll pay tax. So now you got $10K that you can invest with that is tax-free to you for a period of time, or we'll call it tax deferred. Okay, so that is the basics of a lease option. Now there's some subtleties to this that there are real estate investors out there that do this all the time that will tell you can do it this way or that way. Don't need to go into those details because I want to talk about how do you structure this from an asset protection standpoint. Well, keep in mind that in a lease option arrangement like this, you're the owner of the property, okay? Until you sell it, until the tenant exercises that option, you own it. So if anything goes wrong during the lease period, you are liable. So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. That is why in lease options, we will typically set them up in limited liability companies, just like this. So the tenant then is leasing from the LLC, not from you individually. So if anything goes wrong, the tenant can even hurt themselves on the property. Just because they've agreed to buy it doesn't relieve you of liability for your tenants and that particular property. So by having the LLC there, what you're ensuring is that you have asset protection. And then maybe you bring that zero loss strategy in on top of that with the equity stripping technique that I showed you in my zero loss strategy video to further reduce the equity that appears on title to an aggressive creditor. So for lease options, we're going to use limited liability companies to hold the property. Depending on the property and when you bought it, let's say I just bought a property, put a tenant in it, did a lease option, it could be looked at sometimes as a sale. The IRS could view that as a sale, so that may be considered a flip. And so we'd want to get with a professional and we would analyze it. And in that context, this entity here may be owned by a separate entity like a corporation. So maybe we have a corp down here owning it if it's going to be considered a disguised sale, that it's actually a sale of this property at that point in time. So I don't pay, I'm not treated as a dealer. If it's not, and it's going to be looked at as an investment asset, then we would have this LLC held by our Wyoming LLC. So that's it. Not a lot on this one. It's pretty straightforward and simple. How you structure lease options, you're going to use limited liability companies to hold the property for the reasons we do with any other investments that we held. All right, hey, if you're not a member, subscribe to my channel so you'll get the latest updates whenever I release a new video. And I wish you all the very best with your investing.